Welcome to the channel. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Join me on today's video where we pick up the unboxing that we did on the Cadisen C8185G, or better known as the Datejust Homage. And I bought it as part of when I was buying all the Pagani design watches for the channel. So I spotted this pretty much as soon as it came out, and I know Cadison do the Datejust homages, but I think this is the first one that I've seen, and of course, obviously, it caught my eye. And you know what? It looked pretty good in the unboxing as well. There's a lot of good features on this watch, and I actually think, surprisingly enough, where people might think this watch isn't going to be that good, surprisingly, it is actually quite good, and it has impressed me quite a bit. So I went for the blue sunburst dial. Now, Cadison do have a few color options available. Aside from this one, you've got another three, which is silver with a black dial, and you've got two gold versions. I'll put up some pictures. Now, as I was doing this review, just looking at some more specifications on the website, I came across a new version they've released, which is a stunning emerald green dial. And I'll be honest, it was tempting. I might actually put it in the basket, but I'll put the picture up, and it looks absolutely stunning with that emerald green. Now, the cost of this watch, this will set you back around 80 to 90 pounds, depending on what store you use, which is roughly around 110 to 125 US dollars. So the price isn't bad, especially considering the specifications, which I'm going to tell you all about. So let's start off with the specs. You've got a stainless steel case, bezel, crown, case back, bracelet. You've also got a sapphire crystal with a magnification window at 3 o'clock. You have 50 meters of water resistance on this watch, and the watch runs an automatic movement, which is the Miyota 8285 with the day date function. Now, the movement itself is 21 joule movement. It's got a 42-hour power reserve and a B rate of 21,600 vibrations per hour, which means you get this smooth sweep of 6 ticks per second. I have put this on the time grapher, and I will go through that when we look at the movement in a bit more detail, and you will be actually very surprised. This is quite a good movement. So let's go ahead and look at the dimensions. Case diameter is 40 millimeters. You've got a thickness of 11.5 mil, a lug to lug of around 48.2 millimeters, and a 22 mil lug width. Now, you've got an overall weight of 138 grams. Now let's look at the features on the dial. Now, you've got a mixture between printed and applied features. So let's go ahead and look at that. So you've got an applied Cadisen logo dead center at the 12, just below the day window. Now below that, you've got Cadisen automatic printed in white, and right at the bottom, just above the 6 o'clock numeral, you've got 5 ATM waterproof 21 joules. Now let's stop here for a second and let's have a look at that printed logo at the 12. Now it is off center, just because the Cadisen logo comes down into a point and it sits just to the left of the eye. Now, because you've got three letters on either side of the name, then that eye should be dead center underneath that logo. Now, I personally think there's actually no use for that printed logo. The applied logo, polished, I think that's perfect, and they should have just stuck to that, and I think it would have given the watch a very different visual appeal, and possibly opened it up for a lot more people to buy it, because quite a lot of people won't buy it just due to the branding, etc. Not everyone agrees. So with that gone, I think this would make this watch a lot more friendly, a lot more buyer friendly, should we say. So now let's have a look at the applied Roman numerals. You can see fully polished, chamfered. There is actually some really nice detail present on the dial. Now, not everyone's a fan when it comes to Roman numerals as Arabics. You know, I would prefer batons or something, or some markers. However, you know, this is homaging the date, especially the one with this sort of dial setup. So, you know, they've got it on there. Now, if you look around the dial, you've got a sort of railway track chapter ring printed. You've also got a Cyclops at the 3 o'clock. I believe this might be a 1.5 times magnification, because it isn't that magnified. Okay, let's look at closer look at the hands. So you've got polished baton-like hands, and they are chamfered as well, so they really do catch the light. And you've got polished second hand. In terms of proportions, Am I happy with the proportions? I'd say they're nearly there. The hour hand is fine, but I would like just a bit more length from the minute hand and of course from the seconds hand. I'd like to see actually touching or going over that minute track around the dial. Now in the rehaut area of the watch, you can see it's fully polished. I will try and put some close-up pictures on, and you can see just Cadisen engraved. Now I don't know how I feel about that. I would have preferred it if it was just plain, and then that would have allowed for some, nice reflections of the actual minute track, etc. But what do you guys think? They are probably taking pride in their work, taking pride in their brand, so there's nothing wrong with that at all. Now, turning our attention to the bezel, you can see it is a fluted bezel, chamfered, polished, and the quality is quite nice. And it is quite a slim, quite a small fluted bezel, and there's no sharp edges. And again, it does catch the light pretty nicely. Machined well, no sharp edges at all. The sapphire crystal, flat, good fit and finish, no protrusion. Let's look at the crown. The crown is quite small in this watch, but it's because it is a dress watch. And yeah, if you've got really thick fingertips, it's going to be hard and quite difficult to get hold of and rotate. So now let's start looking at the functionality of the movement. So as I mentioned, it's a Miyota 8285 21 jewel movement. Now, what does it do? Does it hack and hand wind? Yes, it does. Here's me winding it. Now, the winding does sound very grainy, but that is quite common with these Miyota 8000 series movements. So what you also can do is if you pull it out full, it does also hack. So it has the modern functionality that we do need. Now, let's have a look at this date. One click, and there we have the date change. Now let's look at the day. So it moves similar to the Seiko NS35, where it doesn't move instantly. Now it will show as it did by moving half and half. So let's set the time and let's see the date. So full date change about 10 to 3, pretty much exactly the same as a Seiko NS35. Click it back in and the movement is running. Now I'll show you some pictures when I put this on the time grapher, and you can see it's running at a very, very decent rate. For most of the positions, I checked it in 4, it was 0. And I think on average, this watch was running about 5 seconds faster a day, which is perfectly reasonable, perfectly acceptable, and in fact, very, very good. And being Miyota, Citizen, etc., so it should be reliable as well. Now we've got to look at the case. Now, of course, it's a Datejust style case, so it is a very simple case. Let's give it a quick wipe down before we look at it a lot closer. So you've got full polished lugs, mirror-like polished. Now I do like the curve on the case. It has been machined really well. Highly polished surfaces. Of course, they're fingerprint magnets, but it is going to be a dress watch. And then you got some signage on the crown, the Cadisen logo. Now let's turn attention to the bracelet. Now the lug width on the watch is 22 millimeters, and the bracelet, you'll be happy to know, does actually taper down to 16 millimeters. Now that is a very nice taper indeed, from 22 down to 16. Now what you can also see is that the style is, you've got the semicircle style, so president style of bracelet, and you've also got the outer links on the sides fully brushed, and the center links are polished. Now this watch is 138 grams, but the weight between the watch head and the bracelet is off slightly. I think it's a very good weight for a dress watch, but I do have a suspicion that the actual material for the bracelet isn't 316 stainless steel. It may be 1 or 2 grades cheaper, because it's 100% not 316. There is just something different about it, and you can only tell that while you are obviously handling it. But anyway, let's get back to it. So the links are split pins. I've took some out. I've left the split pin out as I was just sizing it. So split pin links, which are okay for the most part. And on the clasp, you've got a butterfly clasp with no Cadison branding, which is absolutely fine. Now you do have solid links, as you can see, which is good. Now the fit and finish, I'd say, is very, very decent. Very good. Now the beauty of this watch, what you can actually see here, is the female end links. Just much nice articulation. Now this will allow for the bracelet to wrap around your wrist quite well and giving you a nice comfort wear. So have a look at the case back. You can see the Miyota movement. You've got water resistant, Cadison, automatic, the model number on the back. Let's see how this watch looks like on the wrist. Wrist check for the day. I'm wearing the Zelos black tip, which of course also has a Miyota movement, the high beat. And like I said, I size this for my wrist. I think I need to add one more link because it is a bit tight, but it'll do for the review. Check that out. 40mm watch, 48mm lug to lug, and a 11.5mm thick case. I'd say it's a very comfortable watch on the wrist indeed. I think it looks good. My wrist is 6.5 inches. Now I know a lot of people do prefer, including myself, brushed center links. However, I think with this style of watch, you do need center links that are indeed polished. Just matches the overall look, the overall aesthetic. Obviously this watch is very shiny. You are going to get quite a lot of light play. You're going to have some really nice angles, you know, and especially if this watch was to be outside, it would really catch some good light. In terms of cost, I'd say for £90, around $120, I'd say it is a very good purchase. I think they're doing okay. I do really like the movement. So the thing about this watch is it is well built as well. Now I've been reading some of the reviews on the stores. There's a few people talking about the bracelet. The consistency isn't there. However, on my one, there's no sharpness at all. The bracelet seems to fit really well. And you guys can see, of course, there seems to be no issue with the bracelet. However, I'd say that is probably a potential concern when you're looking to buy these watches. Other than that, you of course have to also like the Roman numerals. If you do, then I'd say go for this watch. Now I do like the day at 12 o'clock. I do like the date window at 3. I like the machining. Everything else I'm actually happy with. Personally, I wouldn't like the Roman numerals, but check out that green dial. That green dial does look absolutely amazing. Other than that, I think for £90, it's a very good watch from Cadison. You know, they haven't really let us down as of yet. They do make some really good, extremely value for money watches as well. So that's it for the review. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you on the next video.